Interesting. Keyshawn, do you like or have a problem with what Ant-Man said?
I don't have a problem with it at all, Skip. That's how you feel. You feel he that dude, he the guy. So I understand you got KD and LeBron and Steph Curry and you got all the Anthony Davis. You got some dudes that got some nice skin on the wall. There's no question about it. And Devin Booker and all that. But I'm on the court too.
Yeah.
And you're going to respect me just because you want me as the young puppy and maybe the first timer and all those things. You want me to just go in the corner and sit there. I'm not going to approach it that way. And that's what he's saying. Now, maybe there was some tongue-in-cheek in there because he did smile a little bit toward the end. So, But at the same time, it's okay to feel that way, Skip. I'm that dude regardless. That's the way I feel. I could be on the desk with some of the top announcers ever, broadcast, but I still feel like I'm going to hold my own. I could have been up, it could be Al Michaels and Keith Jackson and you name it, and Rachel Nichols and Skip Bayless and, Stephen A., whoever you want to name. I'm going to hold my own.
Yep.
Y'all going to get in line just like that. That's what he's saying.
We have to fit in around you, right?
You got to fit in. I mean, are you going to get eaten up? One of the two. It's up to you. But I don't have a problem with it. I understand he's young, and there's some veteran guys that's been here. I mean, when you look at it, just on this roster alone, you got, like you said, you got Devin Booker, which is mind-boggling to me that Curry, this is the first time time he'll ever be on an Olympic team.
Yep.
But you still got KD, right? Embiid first time. But you got guys like LeBron and Kawhi and even Jason Tatum coming off an NBA, and coming off an NBA championship.
Yep.
And so you sit there and you go, ooh. But I understand what he's saying. I get it. I have no problem with it.
Look, I'm just waiting for Anthony Edwards to say, just give me the damn ball, because I do think that may come out of his mouth at some point. You went through this. I think it's a little bit of the Charles Barkley effect. When you talk a lot of trash, when you're very self-confident in the media and publicly, it's a little, you go through the looking glass. Everyone's like, Ant's just being Ant again. Those words don't have the same impact as if he never talked trash, and we never heard him self-confident like this, and he came out and said it. This is just, it's Ant being Ant. I thought you identified the more interesting part of the quote was the end of it, when he said, they got to fit in to play around me. That's how I feel. If I'm a vet on that team, I don't care about him saying, I'm the number one option, because of your point, hey, you're supposed to be confident in yourself. They have to fit around me. If I was a vet on that team, I wouldn't be mad at him, but I would say, maybe in the scrimmage, we're going to show you a little bit about who has to fit around who. And by the way, Team USA scrimmages have been famous for that for decades.
Sometimes infamous.
Going back to the Barcelona Dream Team, Team USA, where everybody was like, man, the scrimmages were so much better than the games. And I think we will see a little bit of that with this team. I also, though, have the background of watching this team during the World Cup last summer, and Ant went through this a little bit, which is why maybe he's laying down this decoration now. If you go back to last summer, he didn't start on that Team USA team, and it was a very reduced team because a lot of the other big stars weren't playing. And this is what he said. He's like, of course I wasn't cool with it. He's like, I'm willing to do it, but I'm never cool with it. Steve Kerr said Dwayne Wade came off the bench when Kobe played, and I was like, all right, but we don't have a Kobe. So, he went through the beginning of being on Team USA where he wasn't the lead guy. He felt he should have been the lead guy. And by the way, by the end of that tournament, he was one of the biggest stars on the team and getting the most playing time.
I thought he was the biggest.
So when you go back to that he had to sort of fight his way on Team USA and under Steve Kerr to show his worth and value, I understand why he's laying down the gauntlet, with this as the opening salvo. I just think we might see a little scrimmage work. That's all, just a little bit.
Keyshawn.
I don't love this. Go ahead and say it, Skip.
You love this kid. You love what he's made of.
I do. And if he was on any team that you like, you would too.
There just comes a point where you have to realize where you are and that the circumstances have changed. You're no longer the number one option on the T-Wolves playing the Mavericks. This is Team USA, and you have to pay a little respect to your elders, even though I think he knew, he was kind of chuckling at himself. I know I'm doing my same act that I play for the media, but this is the time and the place where I should pull back a little bit just to earn some respect, because he hasn't yet. And I don't care what you say. In the fourth quarters against Dallas, he did not exactly distinguish himself. He did not live up to his billing, his own personal billing. He did it against Denver, but not against Dallas. So there comes a point where part of your growth is the perspective on this is where I am, and Kevin Durant's my idol, so I got to go show him in these practices that I can measure up, and I might at some point down the line qualify as the first option for this team because he's got a chance. He could.
He might be the first option for the team. We don't know. How do we know that?
It's loaded.
Yeah, but they might just, they so loaded, they might just say defer to him and go do your thing. They may just, the veteran dudes may just decide to give way.
But it's going to depend on the game.
Listen, as Rachel latched onto, then you can't. I'm barely okay with number one option, but they're going to have to fit around me. No, they're not.
No.
Trust me, they're not.
I understand what he's saying, though, Skip. Yeah. He's not literally saying that it's tongue-in-cheek, okay? He's not that stupid to think that those guys are less basketball players than him, and everything is centered around him. He's not that oblivious, I'm sure.
All right. You have liked to compare him to Michael Jordan. You've called him young Jordan, and whatever else did you come up, baby Jordan and all this. All right. In 1992, that dream team was also very loaded, but at the top were two very aging stars in Magic and Bird could barely walk because his back was so bad. But they just readily, in the early press conferences, they just deferred to Michael because Michael was coming off back-to-back his first two championships. And their message to the media was, this league now belongs to him. This team belongs to him because, they're like, trust us. He's it. Yeah. And those were, I hate to use the war analogy, but they were as close to basketball war as you could get were those scrimmages.
Oh, yeah, real battles.
Real battles, and the games were not real battles. These were the battles. The Olympics got played in intra-squad games, right?
In the practice arenas. And look, this team, this USA team, is going to face such a wide range of games. The Dream Team, every game was a walkover, basically. This team, they have to be prepared to play some walkover-style teams. They'll play in that early. There's no slouches, obviously, to compete to get into even the early round robins. However, they will play some teams that they will absolutely dominate, and maybe in some of those games, Anthony Edwards will be the number one option there. They will also play against teams that are excellent, have beaten them in the past, and in very tight games. And who plays when in that is going to be a question. Steve Kerr is already trying to set expectations. He said the other day, probably every guy on that team is going to be a Hall of Famer. He said, so part of what we're doing...
Every guy. Yeah,
in
that's
training
how loaded
camp,
they
which
are.
is crazy, right?
Crazy.
I mean, to me, this is the best Team USA since the Dream Team.
Yeah.
And if you think about that, Steve said, look, I'm going to use these training camps, I'm going to use these early games, they're going to play a bunch of exhibition games to find combinations of guys. Whether it is these 5 guys start, these other 5 guys finish, we're going to mix and match some of the 2. These 5 guys are going to play together. He wants to be able to get those sets more than like, oh, who's the starter? Who's the number one option? That sort of thing. I think it's going to be interesting. We got to watch Anthony Edwards playing time. We're going to watch LeBron James playing time. Does he start? Does he finish? All of those things. I don't think there's any question he will start. But then, who is Steve Kerr going to finish games with? I don't think Steve Kerr knows. And we'll just have to see what plays out.
If you look at Kevin Durant's international history, he is the closer. He has closed so many times for Team USA's and all kinds of competition since he was an NBA baby. It should be his time to shine once again. So I'm sure in the mindset of this team, the veterans, LeBron knows KD should be the number one option down the stretch of the games because as you get deeper, they're going to get closer because these other teams can play. They know how to play, and they have pride, and they have unity, and they're hard to beat in this kind of basketball at this level. So it does come down to, as it did last time, KD's got to make some shots.
The international game suits his game.
It does.
So well.
It just does. So, again, Michael Jordan in 1992 was 28 years of age. Your guy's 20, and he's still 20. 24, yeah, okay.
And stop calling him my guy.
Well, he was. I mean, you were the one who proclaimed him.
By the way,
God, I didn't proclaim him.
I did the same thing,
Rachel. I did the same thing, Rachel, and many others say. He has some glimpses of what Michael would do from the elbow, turnarounds, things like that. That's what we were saying. Being able to dunk on people.
Then
That's
you would
all.
call him Baby Jordan and chuckle like he chuckled when he said they got to fit in around
That's
me.
messing with you,
He's
though.
Baby Jordan. Ha, 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 ha.
He's also not coming off back-to-back wins.
No,
he's not
he's
28
not.
years old. So
No, he's got
so
some proving to do.
He does, and we'll see it again in these.
I'm not worried
scrimmages.
about
I'm
him,
excited
Skip. I think
to
he'll
hear
be
about
fine.
that.
I think he'll be fine. Yeah, he'll be fine.
For the T-Wolves, he'll be fine. For Team USA,
I think he'll be
don't know.
fine.
I think he's going to have to figure out
They
how
like
to fit in.
the great
right?
thing about it is when the league likes you, they're going to make sure you're successful. His teammates like him. That's
All
the
the play-
thing.
all
The
the
players
players
like
like him.
him.
They do.
All the
So
players
when
like
they
him.
rock with you,
Yeah, I
they don't
agree.
even
I
look at
agree.
that. They just look at that and go, oh, man, that's just Ant talking.
I think they'll chuckle at it, but they won't get mad about
No,
it. Or
not
anything.
at all.
Charles Barkley effect, Keyshawn Johnson
That
effect,
is true.
right?
And I did love one thing. He is a really great interview with some insight for his age. So he was asked, who's the funniest teammate? And he said, Kawhi. He said, Kawhi's the funniest teammate. I'd never heard anybody say, I've heard that about Kawhi. We never get to see Kawhi do that. But I think Kawhi's like sly funny, you know, like behind the scenes, sly funny, in the locker room funny, but he's not funny with us, right?
Yeah, I mean, look, he knows how to deliver a one-liner, and because he's so quiet, it feels very deadly. We've heard that on a lot of the teams he's playing. The Clippers will tell you he's the funniest guy on their team.
Funniest guy on the team. Show us, Kawhi. We'd like to see just a glimpse of it. Come on. All right, up next, LeBron just took a little less money. Is it a big deal or no big deal?